All right, everyone, let's get started. Um, Thank you so much for coming to the third session of AI 101 by Coda Wish. We're so happy to have you here, and we're really excited to teach again. And today's session will be taught by Iris, Lucy, and Audrey. And let's not spam today, please. But other than that, it should be a great session. And can you, take it away, Iris.
Okay, so once again, we can introduce ourselves to new people. I'm Iris Guo. I'm a rising junior at Thomas Wooten High School.
I'm Pranava Nidumolu, a rising senior at Thomas Jefferson High School.
Hi, I'm Philip Wang. I am a rising senior at Centennial High School.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I am a rising junior at Winston Churchill High School.
Hi, I'm Audrey. I go to Montgomery Blair High School. I'm also a rising junior.
I'm Faith. I'm a rising senior at Richard Montgomery High School.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm a rising junior at Winston Churchill High School.
Okay, so once again, this is our third session. If you missed the last few sessions, you can go on our YouTube to rewatch them. At the end of these 6 sessions, we will have raffles and prizes for everyone that you can gather points through winning Kahoots.
Okay, so last week, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, we can.
Okay. Last week our second lesson was about AI and COVID-19. One of the big questions for the lesson was, what can AI do to help fight COVID-19? So do you guys, okay, so these are 3 of the ways that you guys came up with last week. There are detection, tracing the spread, and finding a cure. Yep, these are all useful ways in which we can help. AI can be used to help solve the COVID-19 problem.
So do you guys still remember the 5 steps of design thinking from last week? The first one is empathize, and then we have define the problem, ideate, prototype, and test. So if you go to the next step, the next slide, we can, So the first step is empathize. Can somebody tell me, what do you do for empathize? So basically, it's how your audience, the people who are affected by the problem, feels. So how do they feel about the problem? And you need to observe, interact, and study a wide range of data. And the second step is define the problem. So it's how can this data be used? How can this data help you to solve the problem? And also what kind of data you need to solve this problem. And the third step is ideate. So it is time for brainstorming to come up with any ideas that's possible to solve this problem. And the fourth is prototype. So it is about how can you use the resource you have to create a tangible solution. So you will have a general idea of what your solution is going to be like during this step. And the last one, the final step, is testing. So this step will help you be ready to launch your solution and make sure to test your solutions multiple times to get the most accurate result.
Last week, you guys were also introduced to different companies that are currently using AI to battle COVID-19. Some examples are InfraVision. They can use AI to detect lung cancer or COVID-19 through CT scans. There's Pajin Medicae, which is a chatbot that can diagnose COVID-19. There's Google DeepMind, which can identify COVID-19 proteins. There's Benevolent AI, which can analyze biomedical data like clinical trials. There's in silico medicine, which also identifies new molecules to treat COVID-19. And there's also 360 Health Tech, which can detect your temperature, which could possibly help with diagnosing COVID-19.
Okay, so today we're going to learn about data. But what exactly is data? What do you think data is? Someone who want to share their thought, they can put in the chat. Okay, data is data. Yes, information, correct. Facts, statistic, yes. So yeah, so the definition of data is information that has been bundled into a way so that computers can understand. So they're basically information that computer can understand. Okay, so now we know what data is. It is just like information that computer can understand, but now comes the question, why do we need it? Or more specifically, why do computers need it? Or how can it help computers? To answer these questions, we first need to talk about learning. So you can click yes. Here we go. What is learning? So the definition of learning is the acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience, study, or by being taught. And we have two different types of learning. The first one is human learning, and the next one is machine learning. We have talked about machine learning before, and if you don't remember, it's okay. We're going to talk about later in the slide.
Audrey, we can't hear you.
Okay, so one of the types of learning that Lucy mentioned was human learning. So basically, you guys, what are some things that you do differently now compared to when you were little? And why did you change the way you did those things? So put the answers in the chat. If you guys can't think of anything, you can think about how you used to study for a test compared to how you study for a test now, or how you learn new skills like playing a sport. But yeah, I changed some things to make it more efficient. That's definitely a type of learning.
Yeah, so I see a lot of people saying things like studying, eating, which are all definitely things that we've probably improved as we've grown older. Like eating, I know when you were little, you probably had to be fed. If you didn't, that's a pretty special skill. But as we've grown older, we've learned different habits and how to do them. So yeah, it's cool.
Okay, now we're gonna do another discussion about that's also related to human learning. So you guys, okay, so how do you know when you're wrong, and what do you do after finding out that you're wrong? So you guys can think about some ways that you learn after you mess up. Like for example, if you do something wrong, like if you mess up in front of your parents and your parents yell at you, then next time you're less likely to make the same mistake. So what do you do after finding out that you're wrong? Okay, yeah, someone says you can ask how to do it, and you find ways to fix it. Yeah, that's how you learn. So that's one of the types of learning is called operant conditioning, and it's basically if you do something and there's bad consequences, you learn from it, so next time you don't do the same thing again. And if you do something and there's good consequences, then you're more likely to do it again. So, and how important are past experiences for learning? You guys can put the answers in the chat. Okay, you guys all said it's very important. Yeah, you guys are right. It is definitely very important. This is an important way to learn. If you do something wrong, you can learn how to fix the problem. Like, yeah. And are there any trends in how people learn? You guys can put the answers for this in the chat as well. So yeah, basically most people learn through similar ways, such as observing from other people and like imitating other people. And if you make a mistake the first time, you're less likely to make the mistake a second time. You learn through the personal experience that you have and through experiences of other people. And, yeah.
Okay, so now that we know what human learning is, we can talk about machine learning. What is machine learning? Machine learning is a process that teaches computers to make decisions based off of data. And what is an algorithm? An algorithm is a sequence of instructions for completing a task. Here's a little machine where like an online thing where you can make your own teachable machine that will learn. And this is like a little introduction to it.
Also, I'm sure that you guys use like algorithms a lot in your daily life. Like whether you know it or not, whether you're solving anything using like a formula or taking steps, those are all algorithms, even though you might not exactly like be conscious of it.
Can you guys not hear it?
Oh yeah, there's no volume.
I can't exit it.
Okay. We can just move on to the next slide for now. If we can figure out how to work it in the end, we can play the video in the end, but we can just move on for now.
Okay, so now we have some videos explaining machine learning and better tests that we're just gonna watch a little bit of.
Oh, there's also no volume in this one. Oh, Iris, the volume's also not working.
I guess videos just aren't gonna work right now, so we'll just.
I think you need to share the computer audio when you share the screen. Maybe you can reshare. You can stop sharing for now, and then when you share again, click the box at the bottom.
It's wait, where's the button?
I said you can maybe stop sharing for now
Okay.
and reshare. And when you share, there will be an option for you to share the computer audio.
Wait, let's.
The audio is still not working, but that's okay, Iris. We can just skip to the next slide and we can like make somebody else the host later to play the videos.
Okay. So basically what these videos we're going to talk about, the one on the left, it will tell you that in order for the machines to learn, we have to feed it data. So like if you want it to define what is like differentiate between an apple and a banana, you have to tell it its color and hardness, and then it can like learn from that. The video on the right tells us about how algorithms work. So a lot of machines that don't learn, they just run based off of an algorithm that is given to them by a computer, like that's typed in by humans. But with machine learning, they learn with like different algorithms. So it's like you can't always understand its outputs. So we have another discussion here. How are yeah, so you probably can't answer that question right now. So how do you guys think that machine learning is different from human learning? You can respond in the chat.
Iris, do you want me to try to share if the sounds work?
Yeah, sure.
I can't really share. The host disabled me.
Oh, Iris, do you mind making Lucy the host then also?
Yeah.
The words machine learning a lot in the past few years. And today,
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk to you about what it actually means. So a lot of people think that artificial intelligence and machine learning are the same thing, but they're actually not. Artificial intelligence, or AI as the cool kids say, is the entire field dedicated to making machines smart. Machine learning is a division of AI. And it's really cool because you don't actually have to program the machine to do what you want. It improves or learns by repeating the same task over and over again, slightly tweaking the process each time until it's doing exactly what you want. It's similar to how a person learns from experience. So to give you an example, imagine your grandpa works at the local grocery store. His job is to sort the apples from the bananas, but he has a bad back and complains all the time. So you want to program a machine to do this job for him. The first thing you do is define some features it can use to distinguish apples from bananas. One might be color. The redder the fruit is, the more likely it's an apple. The yellower it is, the more likely it's a banana. This is a pretty good starting point, but what if we encounter a situation like this? Obviously, color isn't enough. We need another feature. Another good one might be hardness. The harder the fruit, the more likely it's an apple. The softer, the more likely it's a banana. We can choose a lot more features, but let's keep it at 2 to keep things simple. Now that we've defined some features, we need to collect some data to train our machine. So you go and get 50 apples and 50 bananas and label each one as item 1, item 2, all the way up to 100. Then you measure the color and hardness of each one, note down whether it's an apple or a banana, and feed your data into the machine.
I don't think I can really full screen this. I will try to.
Have you thought about learning data science? You know, you should take this online data science course on Udemy. It's taught by an expert
machine. Now it's time to test it out. At first, it kind of sucks. Even though it's got its 2 features of color and hardness, it doesn't know how much importance, or as computer scientists say, weight, to place on each of them. The idea of weights in making a decision is probably the most central idea in machine learning, and it's something we're all familiar with. Say you're looking for a romantic partner, and 2 things you're looking for are intelligence and a nice smile. But maybe you place more weight on intelligence than you do on a nice smile. But also, if they never smiled, that wouldn't be good either, so you still place some weight on a nice smile. Weights play a huge role in any decision. That's why when your friend tells you they've found you a good match, they're usually always wrong. They may know what features you like, but they don't know the weights. What separates machine learning from previous forms of artificial intelligence is its ability to figure out these weights. It does this by comparing its results to the data that you gave it. At first, your fruit sorting machine distributes the weight randomly. It starts with item 1, which happens to be a very unripe banana, which is of course much harder than a regular banana. If it places too much weight on hardness, it'll be like, okay, it's hard, so it must be an apple. But by comparing this to the data you gave it on item 1, it'll realize it's made a mistake. It readjusts so that less weight is placed on hardness and more weight is placed on color. But it overshoots, and when it encounters a yellowish apple, it wrongly classifies it as a banana. But again, by comparing its results to the data you gave it, it realizes its mistake and readjusts the weights again. It repeats this process of comparing and readjusting until it's barely making any mistakes. After some time, it's ready to take your grandpa's job at the local market. This example was a simplified version of what Facebook is doing when it tags you in a photo. Facebook learned your face by analyzing photos which it knows are you, by measuring the size of your eyes or the length of your nose, and it uses this data to identify you in the next photo. Actually, machines are getting pretty good at this. In 2015, a robot beat a human at image recognition for the first time. And now they're developing robots that can clean your home for you. How cool is that? If you'd like to know more about how this weight adjusting process works, make sure to subscribe to Up and Atom so you don't miss my next video on neural networks, which is really where all the magic happens. So yeah, until next time, have a good day.
Okay, so this is the first one. And now I can show you the second one.
On the internet, the algorithms are all around you. You are watching this video. to click, which you did, and the algorithm took note. When you open the tweetbook, the algorithm decides what you see. When you search through your photos, the algorithm does the finding, maybe even makes a little movie for you. When you buy something, the algorithm sets the price, and the algorithm is at your bank watching transactions for fraud. The stock market is full of algorithms trading with algorithms. Given this, you might want to know how these little algorithmic bots shaping your world work, especially when they don't. In ye olden days, humans built algorithmic bots by giving them instructions the humans could explain. If this, then that. But many problems are just too big and hard for a human to write simple instructions for. There's a gazillion financial transactions a second. Which ones are fraudulent? There's octillion videos on NetMeTube. Which 8 should the user see as recommendations? Which shouldn't be allowed on the site at all? For this airline seat, what is the maximum price this user will pay right now? Algorithmic bots give answers to these questions. Not perfect answers, but much better than a human could do. But how these bots work exactly, more and more, no one knows. Not even the humans who built them, or built them, as we will see. Now, companies that use these bots don't want to talk about how they work because the bots are valuable employees. Very, very valuable. And how their brains are built is a fiercely guarded trade secret. Right now, the cutting edge is most likely very, I hope you like linear algebra, but what the current hotness is on any particular site and how the bots work is a bit, I don't know, and always will be. So let's talk about one of the more quaint but understandable ways bots can be built without understanding how their brains work. Say you want a bot that can recognize what is in a picture. Is it a B or is it a 3? It's easy for humans, even little humans, but it's impossible to just tell a bot in bot language how to do it, because really we just know that's a B and that's a 3. We can say in words what makes them different, but bots don't understand words, and it's the wiring in our brains that makes it happen anyway. While an individual neuron may be understood and clusters of neurons' general purpose vaguely grasped, the whole is beyond. Nonetheless, it works. So to get a bot that can do this sorting, you don't build it yourself. You build a bot that builds bots and a bot that make. The builder bot builds bots, though be from a 3 either. If the human could build TeacherBot to do that, well then problem solved. Instead, the human gives TeacherBot a bunch of B photos and 3 photos and an answer key to which is what. TeacherBot can't teach, but TeacherBot can test. The adorkable student bots stick out their tongues, try very hard, but they are bad at what they do. Very, very bad. And it's not their fault, really. They were built that way. Grades in hand, the student bots take a march of shame back to BuilderBot. Those that did best are put to one side, the others recycled. BuilderBot still isn't good at building bots, but now it takes those left and makes copies with changes and new combinations. Back to school they go. TeacherBot teaches, tests again, and BuilderBot builds again. And again, and again. Now, a builder that builds at random and a teacher that doesn't teach just tests, and students who can't learn, they just are what they are, in theory shouldn't work, but in practice it does. Partly because in every iteration, BuilderBot's slaughterhouse keeps the best and discards the rest, and partly because TeacherBot isn't overseeing an old-timey one-room schoolhouse with a dozen students, but an infinite warehouse with thousands of students. The test isn't 10 questions, but a million questions. And how many times does the test build, test, loop, repeat? As many as necessary. At first, students that survive are just lucky, but by combining enough lucky bots and keeping only what works and randomly messing around with new copies of that, eventually a student bot emerges that isn't lucky, that can perhaps barely tell B's from 3s. As this bot is copied and changed, slowly the average test score rises, and thus the grade needed to survive the next round gets higher and higher. Keep this up, and eventually from the infinite warehouse slaughterhouse, a student bot will emerge who can tell a B from a 3 in a photo it's never seen before pretty well. But how the student bot does this, neither the teacher bot, nor the builder bot, nor the human overseer can understand, nor the student bot itself. After keeping so many useful random changes, the wiring in its head is incredibly complicated, and while an individual line of code may be understood and clusters of code's general purpose vaguely grasp, the whole is beyond. Nonetheless, it works. But this is frustrating, especially as the student bot is very good at exactly only the kinds of questions it's been taught to. It's great with photos, but useless with videos, or baffled if the photos are upside down, or things that are obviously not bees it's confident are. Since TeacherBot can't teach, all the human overseer can do is give it more
All right, I
questions.
think that's enough of the video. Thank you, Lucido. That was really interesting.
Wrong. This is important.
All right, yeah. While we're waiting for Lucy to share the screen again, I think that was a really interesting video. And so since our next discussion question is to have you guys think of similarities and differences in those two videos, like what you liked about it, if you thought either of them were maybe incorrect in what they told you, then just let us know in the chat and just keep thinking about it because that's our next question. But also, something to think about is whether you'd feel safe or okay with like larger companies like Facebook, Google, Instagram, all these social medias that you use every day taking your data.
Iris, can you share your screen? My computer is a bit slow right now.
Yeah, Lucy, you'd have to make her host again.
I allowed her to share, I think. We can try.
Okay, while we're waiting, we can just kind of discuss more about data. And okay, it's back up. Great.
Okay, so yeah, how do you guys think the two videos are similar and how are they different? They were both talking about robots. They both gave it data, that's true. Okay, so yeah, one of them talked about how a machine learns and the other one talks about, well, they both talk about how machines learn. Okay, so how is machine learning different from human learning? Please type your answers in the chat. For machine, you have to give it data. That's very true. Machine learning is very complicated. So yeah, machine learning is much more complicated than human learning. Human learning, we naturally, like, when you make mistakes, you can learn, right? It's just a natural process, but for machine learning, it's very, very complicated. How do you guys think it's similar to human learning? Should both types of learning have to identify attributes in order to learn? Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so next we're going to learn about how machine learning makes predictions using data. So machine learning, it learns using the data that it's given. So since there's so much more data in the world than what the AI actually receives, not all machine learning is not going to come up with like all existing possibilities. They can only come up with possibilities from the data that you are giving it. So they can't give you an 100% sure answer. They can only tell you what is most likely. So you guys already know that machine learning is a subset of AI. So there's obviously going to be other forms of AI that are different from machine learning. They work in different ways. So machine learning programs, they make predictions based off of the data that it gets. While other AI programs, they have answers to any given situation directly programmed into them. So other AI programs, they can't learn as much by themselves since they need all the possibilities directly programmed into them. While machine learning, they can come up with their own algorithm so they can get results by themselves. So other AI programs, they can only get results that's programmed into them.
Okay, so now let's do a poll. So where does the data come from? Where do big companies collect their data from? From us? From media?
The poll option's not here.
Oh, here. Can you guys see it now? Okay, so I'm going to stop polling. And a lot of you guys choose all the above. But actually, the answer will be the first one, from us, the user. So Iris, if you can go to the next slide. So yeah, so where the data come from? They comes from us, the user. Iris, you can click to the next one. Yes. And the data a company will take from you is listed in the privacy policy that we always have to accept before using the product. And we have a website, a link below this. That's a website that you can find. They collect all kinds of privacy policy or terms of service for many different companies. And this website has rated and labeled them into different classes from A to E, as well as analyze the terms in them. So so it is a very good resource if you have any questions about the terms of service that you read from a company. And Iris, if you can click on the link to show them a bit about the website. So you can find many different terms of service from different companies on this website. And if you don't understand them, you can just click into one. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yes, and maybe click on Google, yes. and then you see the class, and then what does every single sentence means, and there's discussion after that, so you know what do they take from you. Okay, so yeah. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so here we have an example of Google privacy policy. They will collect this data from you. First one is what you use, like which apps, browser, and devices you use. And second, they will collect what you do, terms that you search for, videos that you watch, what you do with advertisement, who you talk to, and what sites you click on. And third, they will have where you are, so GPS from your phones, IP address from your web browsers, and where your access Wi-Fi. So, but don't worry, this data will not be shared without your consent. Only in special cases like school or evidence for court case. And there must be warrants for the court to take this private data from you. So don't worry about that. And yeah.
Okay, so next is the privacy policy and terms and agreement. So I'm sure all of you guys at some point have tried to make an account for a website or something, and they usually have you put in things like your name and your age. And like if it's for some school, they might have you put in what your school is and what grade you're in, those kinds of things. So like your personal identifying information. So usually if you're trying to make an account for something, you're gonna have a page and it's gonna list the privacy policy and terms and agreements. And at the end, there's gonna be a box that says, I agree. So usually this is the place where they like ask you whether or not they can use your personal information. If you click I agree, then they take your personal information. They can't usually use it like Lucy said, unless it's a special case like a court case. But yeah, they won't let you make an account without clicking the I agree thing. So if you guys see this, usually they put the privacy policy and the terms and agreements together. So you guys might think they're the same thing, but they're actually two different things. So the privacy policy is what tells you what data the company will be taking from you. So this is the data that they will receive once you click I agree and go to the next stage. And the terms and agreements is the set of rules and guidelines that you must follow to use the company's products. So you have to click the I agree button saying you're going to follow the rules and guidelines of the website if you want to move on.
And here we have another poll about, do you think it is risky to let companies know your data? Lucy, can you start the poll? You can move the poll now.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll.
So it looks like a lot of you guys said yes, and honestly, I agree. So the risks of data. So here's a website here that we can see. You just have to enter in like really basic information about you, and it can basically identify you. So like if I try and you just type in like the Rockville zip code, that's not where I live. It can tell you a lot of things. And usually there's only like, it says here that it is easy to identify, but there's only like one person in this area that has this basic information. So did you think that it would be this easy to identify someone? And do you think it is a problem? You can discuss this with answers in the chat. Yeah, so actually hospitals, they take a lot of medical details from you, and that's also data. And actually most of the time, the data is not protected very strictly, so there are actually a lot of risks to this. So how can we protect our data? So once again, there are privacy policies that will let us know what the what kind of data is being taken from us. And make sure when you register for like websites or accounts or something, always use different passwords. Because yeah, like their chat is going on right now. There's a lot of hackers out there, and if you use the same password, it's more easy to access your information and data.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the last thing we're going to learn today in today's class. So it's about, yes, algorithmic bias. So the definition is at the top. Yeah, you can show that. So it is automated decision-making that reflects existing social biases, often because the data that a decision based on reflect those biases. And we have two questions here. Since we don't have that much time, I'm just going to go over the questions, and we can share the link of the video if you want to go and look at. It's a really cool video. So for the first answer, for the first question, the answer is data. And more specifically, it is the patterns computers find in data. And for the second answer, it is absolutely no. And in fact, most of the biases happen unintentionally.
So we can play Kahoot now. Go to kahoot.it and okay, we're gonna start it now. So give you a few more seconds to join. Okay, we're starting. What is data? So yeah, data is information bundled into ways so computers can understand. Good jobs. Looks like one of you guys chose McDonald's this time. Okay, yeah, so social media is the right answer. Good job, spam randomly upside down. What is machine learning? So yeah, machine learning is the process that lets computers learn based off of data. Okay, good job. So yeah, this was a pretty tricky question. So if you remember how we said in special court investigations, the court can take your data, right? But that's with a warrant, but that does not necessarily mean they have your consent. Good job, Caitlin. Ooh, almost everybody got it right. Okay, good job. So yeah, an algorithm is a sequence of instructions for completing a task. We gave you this definition earlier on in the slides. See if you were paying attention. Yeah, so yeah, we used Google's privacy policy earlier on to tell you what kind of data they take from you. Okay, so it looks like a lot of people also said what data they will take from you. Remember, that's what we said that privacy policies do. There's a difference. Good job. Oh, so yeah, once again, remember privacy policy is what kind of data the company will take from you, and terms and agreements are the rules and guidelines. So yeah, good job. Remember, a lot of outputs cannot be understood by humans or the machines. Yeah, so machine learning, you have to give it data in order for the machine to learn. Yeah, good job. Looks like Anthony is out to win this. So yeah, this is how they recommend you, like content that they think you might like. Well, yeah, this is a little tricky, but if you remember, machine learning is only a branch of AI, but it is not actually AI.
Congratulations, Peter.
Congratulations, guys. Remember, if you got into the top 5, stay after so you can get your whole name for points.
All right, congratulations to the top 5 people. If you would like your prize or a chance or more chances to win in the raffle, you should put your full name into the chat so we can record it. And of course, as always, we're keeping track to see who we should award prizes to at the end. The prizes are definitely cool, and we'll let you know what they are probably next week. since it's about our fourth session, so we're more than halfway through. But yeah, it's already 6:02. Thank you so much to everyone who came to this class. Thank you so much to Iris, Audrey, and Lucy for teaching. It was a great session. We learned so much about data. And see you next Friday at 5. Thank you for coming, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.